Welcome, recruits, to today's Explainer. Look, today we're not just going on some casual stroll down the beach, okay? We are officially conducting a serious, professional, scientific expedition briefing. We're going to break down exactly what it takes to deploy on a paleontological field mission to literally one of the most historically significant geological spots on the planet. So, get your field notebooks ready because we are heading straight for the Jurassic Coast. I've got to ask, though, are you truly prepared to walk in the actual footsteps of scientific legends? Because, like I said, this isn't your average tourist excursion. We're gearing up to traverse the exact same rugged shorelines where some of the most earth-shattering discoveries in the history of paleontology were pulled right out of the ground. It takes real preparation, a deep respect for the environment, and a really keen eye for discovery. All right, here's our official expedition briefing itinerary for today. We'll start with a paleontological expedition, then look at Mary Anning's scientific legacy, go through the essential field safety briefing, and finish up with the expedition itinerary. Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the paleontological expedition. So our active field sites for this mission are going to be Lyme's famous East Beach and Black Ven. Now, these specific locations are world-renowned for their truly remarkable geology and just the sheer density of fossils literally waiting to be discovered. And the best part? When you embark on this expedition, you're not just wandering around aimlessly hoping to find something. You'll be joining expert guides directly from the museum. These folks know exactly how to read the landscape, decode the geology of the Jurassic Coast, and actually lead a successful fossil hunt in this incredibly dynamic environment. Moving on to Section 2. Mary Anning's scientific legacy. You really can't do a field trip here without knowing whose footsteps you're walking in. And that legacy, of course, belongs to Mary Anning. Just look at this timeline. It represents a string of discoveries that completely, absolutely shook the scientific community to its core at the time. Alongside her brother, she found the very first complete ichthyosaur skeleton right there between 1810 and 1811. And the sensational finds just kept coming. In 1823, she discovered the complete skeleton of the long-necked plesiosaurs, which they called the sea dragon back then. Then, boom, 1828, she unearths the flying dragon, Pterodactylus. Mary's work was profound. Her spectacular marine reptile discoveries provided central evidence that fundamentally challenged the biblical interpretations of creation and the flood. It literally forced her learned male contemporaries, guys like William Buckland and William Conybeare, to scramble and look for entirely different explanations for the history of the Earth. A total game changer. Now here is where it gets really interesting. Mary Anning was an acknowledged expert in a ton of areas of geology, but importantly, her expertise included the, well, rather unglamorous field of coprolites. Yep, that's right, fossilized feces, prehistoric poo. It honestly just goes to show that true scientific inquiry leaves absolutely no stone or, dropping unturned. She was an undeniable authority, and the greatest minds of her era actively sought out her opinions. All right, Section 3, the essential field safety briefing. Listen up, because this is crucial. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why we need a briefing. There's often a huge, stark contrast between what some folks expect and what we'll actually face out there. The expectation? A casual, warm, sandy beach walk. Nice and easy. But the reality? These fossil walks take place in a raw, rugged, highly natural beach environment. The terrain can be super uneven, slippery, wet, and incredibly muddy. In a lot of places, it'll be entirely covered with slick seaweed. Remember, this is an active coastline that's constantly being shaped by the elements. Because of those incredibly treacherous East Beach conditions, there are strict accessibility restrictions we absolutely have to adhere to. The distance we cover and the rough nature of the ground make this a really physically demanding activity. Therefore, the terrain is absolutely not suitable for buggies, baby carriers, wheelchairs, or walking aids of any kind. You really have to honestly evaluate your own mobility and fitness, and maybe even check with the GP before booking if you have any health concerns, because this environment, it simply does not compromise. Which brings us to this absolutely critical number right here, 6. For pure safety and comfort out there on the rocks and the mud, the absolute minimum age permitted on this demanding field trip is 6 years old. No exceptions, no children under 6 will be permitted on the walk. It's just a strict matter of making sure everyone deployed on the expedition can safely navigate that challenging ground without putting themselves or the rest of the group at risk. Okay, moving to our final section, Section 4, the expedition itinerary. Let's talk deployment logistics. You need to be prepared for a sustained 2.5 to 3 hour deployment out on the beach. This gives us ample time to really scour the rocks and learn from the expert guides. You will absolutely need to bring sensible footwear with solid grip, and you've got to come fully dressed for whatever weather the coast is throwing at us that day. Oh, and interestingly, if you have a canine companion, dogs are actually totally permitted on the walks, as long as they're well-behaved, sociable, and kept under control. Just keep in mind they aren't allowed inside the museum itself unless they're accredited assistance dogs. So, the crucial point is securing your credentials for the expedition. Let's look at the official pricing structure for the 2026 season. Adult tickets are £18.95, and that drops to £16.95 during the low seasons in March and November. Children age 6 and up plus students are £12.75. Now, if you want a specialized mission, you can book a private group walk for up to 8 people for £240. And honestly, here is the best part. Every single ticket includes entry to the Lyme Regis Museum, so you get the rugged field experience and the beautifully curated museum experience all in one package. Okay, once those tickets are secured, you must memorize the rendezvous protocol. You are required to meet outside the Lyme Regis Museum exactly 10 minutes before the start of your walk. The tide waits for no one, folks, and neither do our expert guides. Being punctual ensures nobody gets left behind before the group deploys out to Black Ven. Getting your spot requires following a pretty straightforward 4-step booking procedure on the museum's website. Step 1. Click the booking link, select your ticket numbers, and hit Continue. Step 2. Choose an available walk date from the calendar. Step 3. Add the walk to your basket. And Step 4. Just follow the instructions to finalize your payment. Now, a massive word of warning here. The calendar only shows dates with actual availability. And let me tell you, these walks book up incredibly quickly during peak times. You really must book early if you want to secure your deployment. And that brings us to the ultimate question of today's explainer. What will you discover? The absolute beauty of the Jurassic Coast is that the Earth there is constantly eroding, constantly revealing totally new secrets. Armed with the knowledge of Mary Anning, the safety protocols of a true scientist, and the guidance of local experts, you are going out there to discover your very own fossils to take home. So gather your gear, book your tickets, and get ready to hold millions of years of history right in the palm of your hand. End of briefing.